Sleeping giant is the only way to describe the Hisense U75QG. Now I'm doing this review in a very unique way where I'm comparing it side by side to the Samsung Q8FN from 2018 to show you the level that this TV is hitting at as far as picture quality. Now, for perspective, the TV that we're talking about here, the Hisense U75QG, beat the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II in SDR, and it was absolutely incredible to watch. It's been holding its own with TVs like the S95F and, again, TVs like the S90D. It's absolutely holding its own with the absolute top the business has to offer. But even if you look at it comparatively to one of, if not the best LED ever made, the Q8FN, it does do a tremendous job holding its own against something that, again, was just made to dominate. Back in 2018, again, like I mentioned, they used to wrap quantum dots in metal, and they used their local dimming more aggressively with the dimming. So you were able to get these crazy inky deep black levels and amazing contrast, and seeing how this TV performs, it's literally at that level, and it's a sight for sore eyes. I mean, I kind of get taken aback because if you don't know anything about contrast ratio, that's basically where your black levels derive from. Now, out of the box, if you're just going to turn off local dimming, if you don't want to use any picture processing, any of that stuff, you're going to have a contrast ratio of 1300 to 1. That's literally how bad the contrast is on this TV without any local dimming. So if you ever tried to turn it off, you'd see haze and ugliness. And that's why in the darkest scenes, you still have a lot of haze because your contrast ratio is just really low natively. You need about 6,000 to 1 at least, bare minimum, to enjoy a really good picture in a dark environment once local dimming is turned on if you want a pretty much OLED experience. Now, what makes this really unique though is when you turn on the local dimming, the contrast ratio explodes to over 550,000 to 1. That's an insane number, and that is exactly why it is sparking OLEDs, because some OLEDs and most OLEDs top out about 430,000 to 450,000 to 1 as far as their contrast ratio. So that should give you an idea as to how beautiful and how just rich for contrast this TV truly is. Now, it's not to say that everything is a slam dunk. There are some aspects that are just weak. The BT 2020 color coverage space is only 74%. And if that's not bad enough, your DCI-P3 color coverage is only 93%. So this thing is not breaking anyone's head as far as numbers with how they've achieved them. I mean, these are very meager numbers. They're not very impressive. But what they have that is unique is they are able to work with less and give you more. And what I mean by that is there's such a unique quality about this TV to where if you're dialing in colors, it literally will tighten up very well, and you can basically make it look like any color you want, more or less, and get the exact look for reds, greens, blues, yellows, so on, that you want out of the image, and that allows you to create a far more depth and immersive type picture that, again, not even a top tier Samsung is able to produce. As you're clearly seeing, it does struggle a great deal in some of these scenes for contrast. Not all, but some for sure, as you again are clearly seeing. Now, that being said, this TV out of the box, if you are a reference accuracy kind of person, is just going to be absolutely abysmal. I mean, we're talking about delta errors well above 10, okay? That is an absolute massive number. And your average delta errors being 7.9 for color and 5.7 for, again, your grayscale. Those numbers are atrocious. This is not going to be a reference accurate TV, and that's where you might want to pick up something like a Sony Bravia 8 Mark II or an LG G5 or something a bit more expensive. But if you put the time and effort in, you can get some decent results if you have some experience. If you don't, I've done the work for you. For $5, you can join, and I've literally used all my expertise to make it look like what you're seeing on the screen. And I'm the only one that calibrates to this standard that you're watching on screen right now, because this is an in-house standard, and I think it just is amazing to see how amazing this TV looks. The Hisense U75QG was never intended to punch at this level, but with actual prowess and expertise, you can see what it does. And it is a sight for sore eyes. It truly is. But that's not all that I have to tell you about it. You see, when you talk about gaming, I think that's a huge thing for a lot of people looking at this TV, since the 7 series from Hisense is usually positioned as a gaming TV, okay? And the nice thing about it is it's got 10 milliseconds, give or take, of input lag. That's not terrible. But it does a beautiful job of giving you a lot of rich colors. Now, to be fair, if we're comparing it to something like this Q8FN, it's going to be more hazy. Those near black scenes that video games just have, like where you have those low lit moments in video games, this is just not for that. And I think if you're a video gamer, honestly speaking, you should be gaming on an OLED. And the reason for that is those near black scenes are not a dime a dozen. They are literally something that happens far more than that. And you're going to be seeing a lot more struggling in those really challenging moments of Spider-Man, you know, of Horizon Forbidden West, and a bunch of other games. It's going to be something that you're going to, I don't know, is it the Forbidden West or the Frozen Wilds or whatever the hell, the Horizon games, period, right? It's been a while since I played them. You can get an idea of how it's going to look in games like Ratchet and Clank and things like that. Those near black scenes really are the problem. But counteractively, it will hit you with some of the most amazing contrast in the brighter scenes you've ever seen on any TV in your life. And you're going to be like almost like gobsmacked, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened? Like, this TV is not that expensive. I think, though, the black level issues can be forgiven given the price range, and that literally for the money, you will literally be incapable of finding another TV that performs as good. So I think that's where I've become a little bit more lenient as a reviewer with them, because I understand the market very well. And the competitors like the TCL QM7K, or, you know, a 6 series Samsung like the U6, or what was it, the Q6, or, you know, something along those lines, the $500, you know, almost $600 TVs, they don't look very good typically. Hisense, quite frankly, with this particular model, the U75QG, is a step above everything. There is nothing like it. There genuinely is nothing like it. I mean, right down to the fact that if you wanted to spend a lot more money and go up for $2,200, you could get a 100-inch TV. Like, who the hell is giving you a 100-inch TV for $2,200 other than Hisense with this level of picture quality? I mean, normally if they give you a lot of screen size, it's really shitty picture quality. But this is like literally beating a Bravia 8 Mark II, holding its own with a Samsung S95F. And I mean, literally go watch those comparisons. They are very long and in depth. It's amazing to see what Hisense has been able to pull out with, again, not really having a whole lot of, you know, of the top end picture processing and things of that end to fix some of the issues that we've seen in the black level department, but all of the processing needed to be high end. AI super resolution, AI contrast. These are your two superstars this year. Now, again, we're talking mostly about SDR, but when we talk about HDR, that's where we have the biggest, and I mean the biggest problem. That's because HDR just doesn't look very good. I don't care what you play on it. HDR is the weak point of this TV. It's the most downtrodden part of this TV, and it's where you're going to find the absolute biggest issues, because that's where you see a lot more haze. It just doesn't get as bright. Things start to look a lot more muddy. Again, you have good contrast, but overall, it's just not ideal. And that's the truth that a lot of people run from. So in that regard, that's something that, again, needs to be said. As far as motion processing, motion is amongst the absolute best I've ever seen in this price range. Again, it is an absolute monster for slow panning shots, for sports, for high frame rates. All of it is just a dream on this Hisense. It truly is. And then again, there are some like usually useless features like the black frame insertion technology, but that is not the case on this model. It's literally flickerless. And what that means is there's no flicker. Not Samsung, not Sony. They don't have flickerless black frame insertion. And even some LG models have flicker to their black frame insertion technology, where again, on this Hisense, it's just not an issue. That is extremely rare. Now, again, this year they've replaced the dynamic contrast with their AI contrast, and I think that was a smart move because it actually does help a ton. And it's not as gimmicky as it sounds. It actually does produce a tangible picture. Again, the max brightness versus the calibrated brightness is something that you're going to have to consider, though, if you're a purist, because you are going to have a substantial loss in brightness. This TV does not get very bright. I could not get numbers above 1100 nits. I just couldn't do it no matter what I tried. An SDR and an HDR. So regardless of what your fancy is, you are going to struggle, at least with the 55-inch, to see those blistering, monstrously bright numbers that you're going to see over on rtings.com or some other places. Unfortunately, smaller screen sizes with Hisense don't necessarily net a higher peak brightness. It feels like that, but because like the impact, because of the rich contrast and how dark it can get to how bright the highlights pop out at times, it feels like it could be over 2000 nits, but when you actually hook up measurement tools, it's literally 1100 nits, no more than that. And that's really unfortunate given the tier that this TV is supposed to be hitting at. Now, again, that doesn't mean that it's all bad. I know people like Dolby Vision and all that stuff. And again, it's all the same. All the HDRs, HDR10, HDR 10 Plus, Dolby Vision, it's all about the same, give or take, okay? Again, but it is what it is for the price range too. You can't be too picky when you're coming in under $600 before taxes. One thing that I really like though is that there isn't really a whole lot of defects like vignetting in the corner or dirty screen effect. There's a little bit of dirty screen effect on like, those really slow panning sky moments on like, where you have a sky and like a soccer field. You'll see a little DSE, but nothing that will absolutely destroy your image or your experience, literally at all. For the most part, literally this is about as perfect of a TV that we're going to get, at least in 2025, for $599 on sale. And right now it's literally $547 on Amazon. A total steal for this television, because again, it's holding its own against top tier quality. And I love showing it against something like the Samsung Q8FN, something some people might own, some people might not own, but I wanted to show it against a junior flagship Samsung experience so that you could see the kind of level that this Hisense is hitting at. Because I think it's easy to say, oh, it's an amazing TV and only show it by itself. But when you start showing examples of it near literally a top name brand that literally everybody clamors over, I think it becomes very clear where Hisense is positioned. Like their picture quality is far, far beyond the budget level. And if you let anyone tell you otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot more money, potentially thousands of dollars, quite literally, $2,000 to $3,000 for the same thing, especially when we look at the 100-inch models. 85-inch models, 75-inch models, it's just ridiculous the amount of money you can come to Hisense with and walk away with this level of picture quality. Look at the level. It absolutely is at the flagship level. And again, the relevancy of this is the Q8FN beat the Q9FN back in 2018 as well, for better color and better pretty much everything. And I think that's really where a lot of people have to understand. These flagship TVs also aren't just perfect just because they're more money. They usually have more problems in my experience, actually, and they kind of suck, if I'm being very honest. And it's usually the junior flagships that should be the real flagships. Now, the Hisense U75QG kind of feels like that because I wasn't as impressed with the U8QG as I am with the U75QG. It's just doing something different. And whatever that different is, when we talk about the way it approaches depth, the way it approaches motion, the way it approaches noise reduction, the way it approaches all aspects of picture quality, is something I can't really put into words without overcomplicating the video, but I can tell you there's a lot happening under the hood of this Hisense that you need to see. And if you have $500, $600, even if you want to spend upwards of $1,500, you're going to walk away with what, like a 75 to 85 inch and gorgeous quality. I would say that this is something that you're going to have to, again, each person is going to have to assess for themselves, but all I could say is the picture quality is downright flagship level and you'll be happy with it regardless of what anyone tells you. But that being said, I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching the #1 brand in honesty. This is absolutely the most recommended TV in the $599 price range, period. You won't find better. Stop looking. You're going to waste your time. That's as real as anyone's going to be with you and tell you. I hope you listen to the information and walk away with a great TV. Otherwise, what you're going to get is going to be some cheap garbage. And that's just point blank, period. Thanks for watching. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.